Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. This program is broadcast to you from Rajamachan University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will be bringing it to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist and a song to you. We will discuss a little bit about the artist, and then we will talk about the song, discussing some of its main themes, what it's all about, also some of its background, like when it was written, things like that. Then we'll go ahead and listen to the song, and in the second part of the program, we will analyze the lyrics, looking especially at anything that may be difficult to understand, difficult vocabulary, slang, idioms, anything like that. All right, let's get to the show.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for Musical Musings. I am an American English teacher here in Thailand at Rajamachan University of Technology, Peranakan. I have been here for about 8.5 years, so I've been here quite a while. And I do sometimes like to incorporate music into my classroom setting. It's a good way to learn some slang and things like that. Okay, so for today's episode, if you listen regularly, I don't know how many regular listeners we have, but if you listen regularly, you'll know that last week, which was around the middle of August of 2025 in last week's episode, we talked about the songs we're going to be doing these next 2 weeks. We're going to change that up a little bit. One of the things I do like to do is honor an artist who has passed. And just within the past week, as of this recording, we have lost the artist Ace Frehley. He passed away. We actually lost another artist from the band Limp Bizkit, but I will be honest with you, I have to admit, even though I'm your music guy here, I don't know any of their songs. I know of them, of course. They're a very famous band in like Western music culture. I know of the band. I just don't know any of their songs. Actually, if I went and searched and looked for it, I might know one or two of them. But as far as I know, I don't know any of their music. Ace Frehley, even, I have to admit, I don't know a lot of his music either. However, I do know a little bit more about at least who he is, because I know some of his music that he performed when he was not a solo artist. Now, because we're going to do him as a solo artist today, we're going to do one of the songs that he performed solo. I believe, pretty sure, in fact, I'm almost certain of this, when he actually got back with his old band, and I believe he did do this song with them, so it's not like he's only ever performed it solo. But it came out originally on his solo album. I shouldn't say originally. It's actually a cover written and performed by someone else in the past. But, I mean, it wasn't done by his band that he was with. Okay, so that song we're going to do is New York Groove. And again, it's being performed, again, not written by, but it's being performed by Ace Frehley. So a little bit about Ace Frehley. He just passed away on December 16th of 2025. As of the time we're recording this program, that was less than a week ago. And he was born in 1951. So he's about 74 years old. And he was born in the Bronx. You may not know what the Bronx is. That sounds weird. The Bronx is basically near New York City, part of New York City. I always, for some reason, even though I used to live right near there, I would go through there almost every day for work. I always have to try to remember whether the Bronx is one of the 5 sections of New York City. A lot of people, when they think of New York City, they think only of Manhattan. Actually, there are 5 sections of New York City. And I believe the Bronx is one of them, but I always have to think about it. There's Manhattan, which is what you all think about, which is what everyone thinks about as being New York. But there's also Staten Island, Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. So the Bronx is part of New York City, and it is on the north side of New York City. So it's still part of the city, so it's part of New York. But it's on the north side, so it's just before you get kind of into the suburbs to the north, which I say is where I used to live. Yeah, I used to live not very far from the Bronx. Okay, so that's where he's from, and I mentioned that I wanted to explain that because it's interesting that this song is called New York Groove, and it's about being back in the New York groove. Which is, it's the chorus says that several times. I'm back in the New York groove. That's an interesting thing to say because he was born in New York. When he died recently, he was living in New Jersey, so he wasn't very far from New York. New York's right near there. But the band he was with, which is the band Kiss, was centered in Chicago, which is about, I don't even know exactly how far away Chicago is from New York. It's less than halfway across the U.S., so it's probably about 1,000 miles, which would be about 1,600 kilometers. So it's probably about 1,600 kilometers away from New York. So he's doing this. This was on his first solo album. So he's doing this song on his solo album. And I don't know if he went back to New York to record it, but you can it's kind of like he's home. Okay? I did mention he was with Kiss from 1973 to 1982. We have done Kiss on this program before. Now, the song we did from them and the version of the video we played, I don't know if he was in the band at that time. That band has had a lot of issues with certain band members, and so a lot of people have left and come back. And left again. So he was with Kiss from 1973 to 1982, and then they had a reunion, and he joined back with them from 1996 to 2002. Other than that, he's been a solo artist, like kind of in between times. And in fact, even while he was with Kiss, he occasionally did a solo album. And that brings us to this song. He recorded this song in 1978. You'll see I told you he was with Kiss from 1973 to 82. So he recorded this on a solo album that he did while he was still with Kiss. So he did his own album, while still with the band. Okay? But as I said, he didn't actually write it. It was written by Russ Ballard and performed by the band Hello in 1975. That was the original performance. Now, I will tell you that version... Well, I don't want to say it wasn't popular. It was popular in some areas of the world, but it was not that popular, really. The more popular version was Ace Frehley's, and it actually got up to number 13 in the U.S. Now, I do have to say that because Kiss is kind of known for more kind of almost hard rock sort of style music, and Ace Frehley comes from Kiss, a lot of their music, it has a difficult time getting very high in the charts. Because even though a lot of people like that style of music, I like that style of music, there are a lot of people who also don't. Especially back around this time, because some people thought this music was bad, evil music. So to get to number 13 is quite good. But when you hear the song, you'll understand why. It is not very heavy. It's not a very hard rock song. It's got kind of a really cool, interesting style to it. And in fact, I like the name of it because groove is has to do with style. And he's not really talking about that. He's not really talking about the song style in the song, but he still uses that word in the title. So it's I say he uses it. Again, this was borrowed from someone. This was written and performed by someone else. But I do think he still made it his own. He kind of adapted it. He didn't just copy what they did. All right, so what the song is about, well, Frehley said that the song was about his experience with prostitutes in New York City. So, unfortunately, a lot of the especially hard rock, heavy metal songs around that time had something to do with like sex or drugs. There was a big saying around that time about, oh, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So I don't like talking about this on our radio program because some people may think that's not appropriate to talk about, like prostitutes or whatever. But that's what a lot of the songs are about. We have no choice to talk about that occasionally, and that's what this song is supposedly about. I think as you hear the words, yeah, it's a pretty easy song in terms of the lyrics. And you'll see that does appear to be what it's about. All right, so we're not going to waste any more time. I've got to, because of scheduling issues, I've got to keep our program a little shorter than usual today. My program should be shorter than I usually make it anyway. I talk too much. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the song now. For those of you joining us on YouTube, as always, you can click in the upper right to get the video. We cannot embed it here due to copyright reasons. But everyone else, if you're just listening, we're a radio station. We can play music. So if you're on streaming or on the radio, all the rest of you should be able to listen just fine. All right, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, so this is a song about nightlife, a certain type of nightlife in New York City. Okay, so let's just get right on to the lyrics. It's a pretty short song. There's only 2 verses. There's a little piece at the end, which is not part of the chorus, but the rest of it just is the chorus. Okay, so we start out, many years since I was here. On the street, I was passing my time away. Okay, so many years since I was here. I mentioned that he was in Chicago before this. Now, of course, this might just be the original lyrics to the song, but maybe it meant something to him because he felt the same way. So many years since I was here. On the street, I was passing my time away. To say you're passing time, it just means he's just hanging around, walking around, not doing much of anything. And sometimes you do that in a city, especially a city like New York. So just walking around. To the left and to the right, buildings towering to the sky. It's out of sight in the dead of night. Okay, so to the left and to the right, buildings towering in the sky. When you say they're towering, it just means they're tall. So, tall buildings, New York City, yep. It's out of sight in the dead of night. Okay, when you say that something is out of sight, especially back then when this song was written in the 1970s, it's a slang term we don't use as much anymore. But out of sight means like really cool, really awesome, really great. So it's out of sight in the dead of night. So sometimes they call New York City the city that never sleeps. So in other words, even in the dead of night means like the middle of the night. Even in the middle of the night, there's stuff going on. Okay? Here I am, and in this city with a fistful of dollars, and baby, you'd better believe. Okay, so he's saying he has a fistful of dollars. A fistful, this is your fist. In other words, he's got a handful of dollars. He's got a lot of money. So he's got a lot of money, and he's going to go spend it. And so when it says, and baby, you better believe, that's just kind of the intro to the chorus. So the chorus is, I'm back in the New York groove. So he's back there in New York, and he's ready to have fun. And in this case, we know what sort of fun he's interested in. So, and then that line just repeats in the chorus. I'm back in the New York groove. I'm back in the New York groove. Back in the New York groove, in the New York groove. That is it. That's the whole chorus. Okay? And I told you there's only 2 verses, so here's the second verse. In the back of my Cadillac, a wicked lady sitting by my side saying, where are we? Okay? So, in the back of my Cadillac, a Cadillac is an expensive car. So again, he's talking about how rich he is. He's got a fistful of dollars. He's got a Cadillac. And then he says a wicked lady. Wicked means like evil. So what he's talking about there's your prostitute. I mean, we shouldn't call them evil, right? I mean, it's a job that a lot of people think is wrong, but some people think it's okay. You got to make a living. And He's the one paying her. You shouldn't be calling her wicked, but whatever. Okay. That's his term for it. Okay, so a wicked lady sitting by my side, so she's right there, saying, where are we? So I guess she doesn't know where they're going. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why she's asking, where are we? But it is the back of his Cadillac. And you notice he says she's by his side in the back of his Cadillac. So in other words, he's got a driver driving for him. So again, it's all about being wealthy. He's not driving the Cadillac. He's in the back of the Cadillac with her by his side. So he's got a driver to drive him around. Okay, stop at 3rd and 43, exit to the night. It's gonna be ecstasy. This place was meant for me. Okay, so stop at 3rd and 43. Though that's the way they do the streets in New York. Those are street numbers and avenue numbers. It's going to be 3rd Street and 43rd Avenue, I believe. Not exactly sure. I'm trying to think of where exactly that would be. I used to work in New York City. I think that's not too far from an area I'm familiar with, but I'm not sure exactly where it is. I think it's a little north. Okay, so stop at 3rd and 43, exit to the night. So that means that's what they're going to get out. It's going to be ecstasy. This place was meant for me. Okay, so ecstasy, this is a weird word because of what it technically means and how we use it. Ecstasy just means you're happy. Like if you're in ecstasy, you're happy. That's all it means, technically. But a lot of times we will use it when we're talking about sex. And so that's what he means here. So it's going to be ecstasy. This place was meant for me. When you say something is meant for you, what you're saying is you belong there. This is where you're happy. So he loves doing this. He's happy to do this. Okay, and apparently he is, because the next 2 lines are, feels so good tonight, who cares about tomorrow? So baby, you'd better believe. So feels so good tonight, who cares about tomorrow? I don't think I really have to explain that one. He's just saying that he's not even thinking about tomorrow. He's just having fun tonight. So baby, you'd better believe, and then we go back to the chorus. I'm back in the New York groove. And then that repeats, and it's done. Simple song. Simple song. And I think when you listen to it, you heard that it was pretty fun. It's got a pretty interesting rhythm to it. The one word I didn't really explain, I explained it slightly in the beginning, is the word groove. So groove is kind of a feeling, but it kind of comes with it's almost like it comes with some actions. Like if you're feeling the groove and you're talking about music, you're probably moving around to the music, you're enjoying the music. It means you're into something. So he says he's back in the New York groove. It's like he really loves how New York is. He loves the New York style. He's into it. And again, he's doing something about it. Maybe not the right thing, depending on your opinion, but he's enjoying it. He's enjoying New York City. Okay. And by the way, just in case you're curious, since we're doing this program here in Thailand, I know that technically that type of activity is not legal here in Thailand either, but we know that it happens and it's not really enforced, so it's like sort of halfway almost legal in America, except in like one city in Las Vegas. Absolutely not. Definitely not legal. They still try to get away with it, as you can see from this song, but people do get arrested quite frequently for being involved in prostitution, whether it is the prostitute or the person trying to pick up the prostitute. It could be either one, but that happens a lot in America, that people will get arrested for that. So it is, I mean, I know it's not really legal here either, but let's just say it's even less legal in America. All right. So again, this was Ace Frehley. A very simple song, but I still think it's fun. I think it's a fun song. I think the rhythm of the song, the sound of the song is really fun. Now, at the end of all my programs, I always give you some advice on other songs to listen to from an artist. I really don't have much to tell you with Ace Frehley because he did have a lot of big hits, but a lot of them, most of them, were when he was with Kiss. And that's not like none of his other songs became hits, but this was really his biggest one. So I don't really have any advice on other ones of his to listen to. Again, there were some that were modest hits. So if you like this song, sure, go ahead. Check out more of his... Go check out more of his music. It'll be easy enough to find, especially right now, because people might be posting more of it online, on YouTube, because he just recently passed, if you're listening to this shortly after we record it. So you can find plenty of his music online. He's pretty popular. Even though he didn't, like I said, have a lot of really top hits. And again, I'm talking about as a solo artist. He's got many hits that he has with Kiss. So as a soloist, this one was pretty much by far his top hit. As I said, got to number 13 in the U.S. All right, so that's going to do it. I told you this episode would be a little bit on the short side. It's a short song, so there's not a whole lot to talk about. We've already talked about Kiss, which included Ace Frehley, so that really is about it. That is New York Groove by Ace Frehley. May he rest in peace. As I said, as of this recording, he just passed away within the last week. All right, so thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Any young people out there looking to attend university anytime soon, take a look at our great university here, Rajamacon University of Technology, Peranakan. All right, please stay with us and tune back in next week for another great song. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical